Hi everyone. Welcome to the GWO Annual Report 2021 webinar. It's been a while. We haven't had a webinar since September, so it's nice to be back. Today we're really pleased to present you with some highlights from across the GWO network in 2021 and introduce you to a new online format which makes it easier to access our data for your own research into training and workforce topics in the wind energy sector. Before we get on with things, we've had a question up on screen for some time. We'll be using this system later if there is time, so if you haven't already, please log on to menti.com on your phone or your browser and type in the code you see at the top of the screen. It seems fairly straightforward that we've got a majority of people who are looking for one thing.
Yes, thank you for your feedback, and we'll make sure to cover everything later.
So we'll leave this up for a couple more seconds and see if anybody else has any particular wishes to. We've got one new vote coming in for information on about standards, and we'll be talking a lot about that. It's good to see that regional trends are a big interest for all of you participants, because that's a big portion of what we're going to be talking about today. As I said, we'll be coming back to this screen again. So if you're using your phone, keep it open, and some more questions will come up, and we might have a little roundup quiz at the end just to keep things interesting. So let's fire on. So my name is Ralph Savage. Here with me today is Ilaria Gabella, who's Business Analytics and Communications Associate at GWO. Ilaria, you've been responsible for crunching the numbers which come out in this report today. Window contains how many records now?
The database has been running without interruption since October 2016, and more than 1 million records have been uploaded. Today we'll find more about what those records are and what they can tell us about the workforce in our analysis.
Thanks, excellent. So today's event will be recorded and a copy is going to be sent to you via email. We'll also publish it on GWO's YouTube channel. There'll be also plenty of opportunities for you to ask questions. I can see a few people have put hands up already. Your microphones are muted for most of the presentation, but if you do want to ask anything, please actually just write out the question in the Q&A box and we'll come to it at the end of the presentation. The agenda for today is as follows. First, we'll have a very quick introduction to GWO for those of you who might not know that much about us, and we'll have a look at the new annual report format. Second, we'll look at GWO training insights from Window, both at the global and regional level. Then we'll dedicate some time to answer your questions. Hopefully there'll be enough time to fit all of this in, but if there isn't, we're planning several new events in 2022. We'll let you know more about them at the end. So as I said, an introduction to Global Wind Organization. We are a non-profit body founded by leading wind turbine manufacturers and operators to create a safer and more productive workforce. GWO members strive for an injury-free working environment in the wind turbine industry, setting common international standards for safety training and emergency procedures.
This year, the GWO annual report has been designed to be more interactive. Of course, you can still download the PDF format with most of the information as before, but we also have developed a new reporting zone on our website where you can do much more. The reporting zone provides a lot more space for interviews, content with key stakeholders, and deeper insights regarding wind data and what it can mean beyond the numbers.
The zone is accessible at our usual website, globalwindsafety.org, via the menu in the top right corner. Click Reporting Zone, and there you can access the new area. The annual report itself is divided over 4 sections, an introduction and then 3 main topic areas. These 3 topics correspond with the key strategic focus areas of GWO: creating workforce training standards, creating governance for training quality, and building a community of safety and training by growing our network. So let's dive in now into the key highlights from the window data for 2021. First at a global level, then region by region. Ilaria, we have 2 main indicators that GWO measures to understand the market as it develops. Can you tell us what those are?
That's right. The first of these key performance indicator is the GWO Trained Workforce. This is a number representing how many people have at least one valid training record in GWO's window database. At the end of 2021, the GWO Trained Workforce was 122,573, who hold between them a total of more than 500,000 valid GWO training records. Between 2020 and 2021, the annual number of participants to GWO training courses rose from around 61,000 to over 80,000, which is an increase of 31% year on year. The countries with the largest GWO training workforce are the United Kingdom, Spain, Germany, Denmark, the US, and Brazil. The second indicator that we measure is the volume of GWO training completed. The number of training records also rose from 225,000 in 2020 to over 316,000 in 2021, which is an increase of 41%. The compound annual growth rate for the period 2018-2021 is 22%, meaning that overall there are more people completing more GWO training courses today than 1 year ago.
Going deeper into the numbers, we also consider the number of training records completed course by course. By analysing these, we can understand not only which courses are most common, but also what an average member of the GWO trained workforce has done.
Similar to previous years, the records most commonly issued were working at heights, manual handling, fire awareness, first aid. Each of these saw an average increase of plus 40% compared to 2020. However, the types that grew the most in 2021 were the 6 modules of the Advanced Rescue Training Standard, together with the Slinger Signer. The net result of all this additional training, as Rob said earlier, is that participants increasingly have more GWO records per person.
Yes, to illustrate this topic further, if you look back at 2018, when the basic technical training standard first entered the market for real, people had on average just over 3 records each. Now in 2021, with the addition of things like advanced rescue training, the average participant globally has 4 records. And in markets like the US and the UK and several others, typically people have 4.5 or more records each. Of course, we wouldn't have a GWO training community without a network of training providers. These organisations are certified according to our requirements by third-party certification bodies, who again operate according to our requirements. The network grew 23% faster than 2020 last year, with 82 newly qualified, newly certified GWO training providers entering the community. This made 2021 the most successful year since we began recording this information. By the end of last year, 444 GWO training providers from 48 countries were certified to deliver GWO courses, with 5 new countries joining the network. As you know, we are a membership-based non-profit organisation. GWO members are hoping for more standardised training to be made available wherever it is needed, and that means new certifications. But where exactly are the most new training providers showing up? Are you going to tell us about that?
Several markets saw a high number of new certifications last year. Some of these already have large existing networks, like Spain, which added 9 new training providers, but others like Brazil, with 10 new training providers, and India with 8 represent much needed growth in large emerging wind markets where our members see the greatest potential to benefit from a global standard. The same can be said with China, with 7 new training providers, and the USA with 5. All of these new GWO training capacity is great news, and which will help establish the standards where they are needed most by O&Ms and owner-operators.
There were also a few welcome developments in Europe. In France, GWO standards have taken off a little more slowly than neighbouring countries, but there were 8 new training providers in 2021 there, doubling the size of the network and pointing the way towards a future in which offshore wind particularly is going to play a big role in the next 5 to 10 years. So that's the picture of the number of training providers. Now we'll look in more detail at what those organisations are doing. The graphic on screen demonstrates how the volume of training has developed in different regions over time. Ila, you can explain what this means to the participants today.
As you can see from the table, most markets have grown at faster than 50% in compound terms annually during the last 4 years. Europe remains the largest market, representing 69% of the training records completed in 2021. The remaining 31% is mainly concentrated in Asia and the Americas, and I have more details about this in the next few slides.
Okay, so let's begin with trends for GWO training in Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Ila, tell us about this part of the world.
As we just explained, Europe remained the largest market for GWO training. By the end of 2021, there were almost 300 GWO certified training providers there and 46 certified last year. By the end of 2021, 217,000 training records were completed by over 54,000 participants. As in previous years, UK-based providers led the way in Europe, training over 11,000 participants who received over 50,000 training records. This was followed closely by Spain with more than 8,000 participants and over 35,000 training records, and Germany, more than 8,000 participants and over 29,000 training records. In Africa and the MENA regions, South Africa is establishing a strong network. Only one more training providers joined the GWO community there last year, but training more than doubled from around 2,300 training records complete in 2020 to more than 5,500 in 2021. South Africa, 6 GWO training providers trained over 1,300 participants, suggesting strong demand locally and from the projects across the continent. We were also pleased to see the first GWO training providers certified in Egypt this year. After just a few months after the operation, more than 500 training records have been issued in the country to more than 125 course participants.
Okay, so the next regional overview is focused on Americas. Ela is going to again take you through the salient facts from that market.
The 3 Americas regions contributed 18% to all GWO training records issued globally in 2021, 3% more than 2020. And for the first time since 2016, North America outpaced South America in the volume of training during 2021, completing over 25,000 certificates. Central America, including Mexico, also saw an increase of 19% in the training records issued in 2021 versus 2020.
Back to North America, the training growth there has been very strong, as the numbers suggest. It increased 78% compared to 2020. This was thanks mainly to growth in the United States, where more than 5,000 people completed a training last year. Today, the GWO Trained Workforce in the US and Canada is approaching 10,000 people, and we're really optimistic about its potential.
As we mentioned earlier, the number of GWO certified training providers has steadily grown across the Americas. With 5 more training providers, North America has now 28 GWO training providers, corresponding to 6% of the global community. In South America, Brazil welcomed 10 new GWO certified training providers last year, and Colombia its first, for a total of 31st in the region, 7% of the global community. Finally, Central America maintained its 13 GWO certified training providers, representing 3% of the global community.
The final regional overview is for Asia Pacific, which includes Asia and Oceania. Again, Ela, tell us about what's going on there.
In Asia, more than 9,000 participants completed over 28,000 training records, which is an increase of 2/3 compared to 2020. 17 new GWO training providers were certified during 2021, reaching a total of 58 in the region. As you would expect, the largest market in Asia for GWO training were India, Taiwan, China, with also Australia increasing substantially. Taiwan and India have grown the fastest in the region in the last couple of years for 2 different reasons. India is now the world's 4th largest onshore wind market, driving demands for the core basic safety training modules. Taiwan's rises sees almost every participant completing this, plus the sea survival modules of the BSD.
Okay, so that was a very high-level roundup of the key developments around our network, and it is, of course, just a summary. And we realize that in many cases you may have questions about specifics concerning one market or a particular type of training, or even your own company. With that in mind, this year's annual report is published with an option for you to download the relevant files so you can complete your own analysis.
If you need more information and data regarding the GWO training, visit the reporting zone on GWO's website. And if you have any specific question, feel free to email us to info@globalwindsafety.org.
So, as I said, this is the first time we've been back with you online since September. And as you're all aware, many of you got used to seeing my face and that of our CEO, Jakob Holst. We do have plans to hold several events and 1 or 2 in-person events over the coming weeks and months. Initially, we have a presentation by our North America representative in March, how to become a GWO training provider there. There's a very strong pipeline of interest, and we're expecting to see the network grow substantially. So if you're interested in learning more about the process of becoming a training provider with a particular focus on how to do that in North America, then that event will be useful for you. After that, and for those of you who are used to dealing with Global Wind Organization will know that every April and every October, we release new standards, we update our requirements. And this month, on the 31st of March, the day before these new training standards and new requirements are released, we'll be holding one of our release day webinars, where we'll have the project managers who are behind the launch of the Control of Hazardous Energy training standard, the lift maintenance, installation and commissioning training standard, and also the GWO taxonomy online on the 31st. In the case of that event, we're packing in quite a lot of information, and it tends to be the case that there are many, many more questions that come out of these events that can't necessarily be answered on the day. So we're holding online workshops the following week on the 4th and 5th and 6th from 11 till 12 Central European time, where you'll be able to quiz the project managers who are involved directly in the development of those training standards as they're rolled out from the 1st of April. And finally, and this is to be confirmed, but we're likely to be holding our first physical event since November last year when we held the Safety Awards. The GWO Stakeholder Forum will be holding in London on the 11th of May. Please keep an eye out on our website on the events page, and make sure you're subscribed to our newsletter and following our social media channels so that you can be sure that you can subscribe and attend those events as and when they come up. Shall we return to a couple more questions before we sign off? Yeah. Okay.
I see one question that is asking how to download the data that we were mentioning is available this year from WindUp for 2021. If you haven't received an email this morning with the data straight into your inbox, please maybe consider subscribing to the GW's newsletter. We are sending the emails with the data on a rolling basis, so we'll make sure to send it to you as soon as possible. If you cannot find the link where to subscribe and download the data on the website, send an email to info and at globalwindsafety.org, and we'll send you instructions.
Okay. One final question that has come up, a couple of people that have asked a similar kind of question, is about what kind of recognition GWO members themselves have of using GWO training standards. It's part of a commitment for a GWO member to use and accept GWO training wherever it's appropriate for them. And we see a general increase in that happening. Obviously, our focus today and in talking about these numbers is entirely around increasing the availability of the training, acknowledging that it will be used when it can be by members, but we focus mostly on developing the network and making sure that the training is available. So hopefully over the coming years we'll see a significant increase in numbers and the GWO trained workforce figures rising commensurately. I think for now we are reaching the end of today's proceedings, so we're going to sign off, but as Ela said, if you have any questions for us after this, please get in touch at info@globalwindsafety.org, and that's it from us today. Thank you very much, and look forward to seeing you again in person or online. Thank you.